Good evening, everybody. It's 8 o'clock ish. It's Sunday night, and we're live again. Rabbi, how are you?
All right, Baruch Hashem, David, how are you? I thought we had finished with this.
Now we're back. We're back. The people want it. You have to give the people what they want.
Absolutely. That's what our show is all about, giving the people what they want. And even those people who moan, they want to moan. So we give them what they want as well.
Everybody gets plenty of what they want. Talking of shul, it was a very nice event that happened yesterday on Shabbos after davening. There was a kiddush which was a little bit more special than usual, but that wasn't what made it more special. Why don't you tell everybody who might not have seen it what it was?
Okay, so first of all, thank you everybody for tuning back in. It's really great to have all you guys back. Last night, or yesterday during the day, we had this idea. Actually, there were a few people from our shul that had gone to Poland and to other areas because H does a trip together with King David. And Rabbi Tzvi Geffen got in touch with me. He says, hey, would you fancy having some of your guys come on Shabbos, give a bit of a summary of what they saw and of their feelings. And I thought that was a great idea. I reached out to you, David, and David said, yeah, this was a good idea. We should do it. And we had improved the Kiddush. We had done improved seating last week also. So there's actually tables in the Mount Barclay where people can sit down. And so yesterday we had Sam Spieler, and we had Maya Luri that both made presentations about their trip to Poland, the feelings that they had, and the renewed sense of vigor they came back with. Rabbi Tzvi Geffen was the one who introduced it, and I thought it was an amazing event. The first time that the shul felt slightly fuller again. Do you know what I mean?
It did. I mean, people said it was buzzing.
And I think it was. Hi, Chava.
Chava did a sterling job yesterday as well, helping out. So thank you very much, Chava.
Yeah, thank you. Chava and Rachel are helping out. Anybody else who wants to come forward and help out, please do. Hi, Deborah. I don't know if that's Deborah or Harris, but either which way, if it's both of you, hello to both of you.
Good evening, everybody. Okay,
but there's other stuff going on in shul.
It's fantastic to see how much stuff is going on and how much is still planned for over the next few weeks. You've obviously got a nice run up now to Purim and Pesach, and so there's plenty going on, right?
Baruch Hashem, there's lots of stuff going on, but what I think the thing that makes me even happier is not only that there's plenty going on, but I think people are slowly starting to come away from the feelings of fear and COVID. And Baruch Hashem, I feel that people are starting to re-engage with shul. Hi Elaine, hi Richard, hi Suri as well. People are re-engaging with shul, and I think that that's really, really special, that people are starting to feel comfortable to come out again. Now, I know there are people that are not coming into the Kiddush yet because they don't feel comfortable, but the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of people come back that haven't been coming, that haven't seen for a very, very long time. And to me, it's really, really special that slowly but surely we're rebuilding that spirit that we had before COVID.
It was fantastic. And also, I got to say, both Maya and young Mr. Shvila spoke amazingly well they're almost not children, young adults of that age, but tremendously eloquent and very passionate as well about the subject matter and about what they've seen, and the very obvious link between that and the events that are going on at the moment in the Ukraine, although not comparable on scale. When you start to see people being displaced and moving across borders and the danger that they're in, it does, for anybody that ever lived through that piece of history or watched anything or read anything about that piece of history, it's bringing back a lot of memories.
Yeah, a lot of dark memories. Although I would probably venture to say that in those days, people didn't have the same chances to become refugees. I mean, now the countries to the west are opening up their borders. Hopefully, we'll be opening up our borders as well towards refugees, and people will be able to run away. Halavai, I wish, halavai, that, in the times of the Holocaust, if countries had opened up the borders and let Jews flee to them, probably fewer Jews would have died. Do you not think so?
No, 100%. I think I saw Dominic Raab being interviewed on television, and I think his parents were, if I'm not mistaken, Czechoslovakian Jewish refugees from the
Really? Didn't know
Holocaust.
Dominic Raab was Jewish.
Yeah, right. But yeah, apparently he is, and he was, he was talking about his family's experience, and it's, I think somebody tried to say, well, in those days it was easy, everybody welcomed them with open arms, and I think he got very upset at that because the story was very, very different. Um, Deborah's identified. I think father only. Listen, we said Jew-ish. It's
Ish.
almost there.
Yeah.
Ish. Stress on the ish. But it's interesting when we talk about refugees. It's easy to ignore it sometimes when it's not your group of people that are being displaced. And I think the what's happening in Ukraine now, it includes our people as well, and it includes people of every denomination, and it's a very intense situation that's happening over there, and for anybody that lived through the darker years of communism and Soviet rule, particularly in Eastern Europe, it almost seems like we're winding back the clock.
Well, how about your mother-in-law? What does your mother-in-law say to everything? Is your mother-in-law Russian? Is she not?
No, she's Romanian, and she remembers again growing up in communist Romania and all the restrictions that were on them then. Yeah, I mean, and anybody, I mean, I bumped into somebody from Poland who again remembers very well what it was like to live under communist or Soviet rule, and I think they all fear that coming back again, because I don't think it's something that the people in the Western world have a good grasp on, in terms of the restrictions on religious freedoms, on who you were, what you did, freedom of speech, what you chose to study in university, how you ran your business. It was all encompassing, and I just don't think that anybody has got a clear, particularly younger people don't have a clear grasp on what communism meant back then, and indeed what Soviet aggression might look like today. So it's a crazy situation when you think about it. 2 weeks ago, we didn't have what to talk about on this level. And then all of a sudden, very, very quickly, this has gathered tremendous amount of pace.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what's going on over here. I really think that, I don't know why people thought Putin wouldn't do it. If he's put his tanks and all his ducks in place, it was just a question of time when he was going to do it. And it's very scary that the world is at the moment at the beck and call of a madman, an absolute. And the problem is, I don't believe he would be afraid to use nuclear weapons either. I mean, what do you think?
I think, despite his the way that he's acting and the way that we all think he's crazy, I think he's a very skilled poker player. I think he knows that he has the upper hand, and that he, by taking that first move, he knew that Western powers were not going to put boots on the ground. I don't think he even thought that there was going to be such wide-reaching financial sanctions placed upon him and his country members. So I think that's really what people are underestimating.
I think that's underestimating the Ukrainian resistance as well, probably. I don't think they believe that the Ukrainians would fight as hard as they did. I mean, the Russians have lost a lot of people, and the Russians have lost a lot of equipment.
All the interviews with Russian soldiers that have been captured, they're very keen, actually, the Ukrainians, to get them in front of the camera so that they can give their own version of the story and how it was. But they're meeting a lot of resistance, and what's interesting is it's every member of society. So anybody that could flee or had somewhere to go to, they went. But everybody else that was left, many of them civilians, untrained, militarily, they were given a rifle and they're out there, and they're fighting for the country, and they're fighting for their survival, because there just seems to be no real sense behind this. Clive Moss Barkley, good evening, Clive.
Hi, Clive.
This is one man's war. Sounds like the Purim story. Right, we are also being joined by some guests this evening who I think have just come in. So, Rabbi, I'm going to let you introduce them. Just 1 second.
I'm not sure who's here. Oh, wow. There you got Rabbi Emanuel and Avram Baruch Rezhner. Good evening to both of you.
Good evening.
Right. I know Rabbi Emanuel is a friend of mine that I was in Kollel with together, and at the moment is still the Menal. He's still the one in charge of Beis Talmud, as well as you have Avram Baruch Rezhner, who's the son of Rabbi Rezhner here in Prestwich, a well-known Rav. And they have a very special connection to Kiev. So how about I just hand over to you guys, and you can both explain your connection to Kiev and in general to the Ukraine, and what you're really trying to do at the moment with the fundraising drive, but also trying to help people in Ukraine and the displaced people.
Right. Okay. So in 2007, there's a fellow who's going to come on soon, Nosson Feldman. Here he is.
There he is.
There he is.
Nosson will explain himself soon also.
Right. So around this time, actually, it was Erev Purim 2007. He shows up at our house and he says, right, Yechiel and Nechama, do you want to run a summer camp in Ukraine? And I was like, Nosson, are you mad? Is this a Purim joke or what? So he's like, no, you want to run a summer camp in Ukraine? I said, is there sanitation? Is that we're going to be able to, how you want me to bring my wife though? Yeah, I'm up for a bit of a thrill, but he says, no, don't worry. Motzei Shabbos, that was a Wednesday afternoon. Motzei Shabbos, I'm coming around. Comes out with his laptop, loads of pictures, loads to show us. And he says, I'm telling you, you do this, you'll never look back. And from 2007 to 2017, we partnered Nosson and we ran summer camps there for Ukrainian children. There was one division, age 7 to 17. So 2 divisions of Ukrainian children, the younger division and older division. And then we took along about between 25 and 40 yeshiva guys each year, aged 18 to 25. And it was like having 3 divisions under one roof. Some of the programs were done together, some were done independently. But what it happened with my personal family throughout the time that we were living, whilst we were living in Broughton Park, in Prestwich, in Whitefield, through all our different eras in different parts of the. Of
They've
Manchester.
also been refugees moving around Manchester.
Yeah. I always say we were the wandering Jews, but we had to do with every year we ran this summer camp. But we got to know the families, we got to know the kids. We watched them go from the summer camp. They would then enroll in the orphanage, or they would enroll in the Jewish school. They would come there. They would have where they came from homes where there was very little. They were underprivileged in an extreme way. This gave them an infusion of 3 weeks in the summer of fun, enjoyment, that they wanted to be part of the community. They came to Kiev. They joined the orphanage, joined the dormitories, and from there they became part of the kehillah, part of the community.
How big was this camp?
So the camp was the impetus that gave them the impetus to join the community as independent young people. From there, they joined.
How many boys did you have there?
We had in excess of 100 boys every year. So, I would say an average of 100 and 110. Some years we could have 130. Some years we had a bad year or not such a good year was when we had 80 kids. But generally, we try to make sure we had over 100 kids every year from all over Ukraine.
Can you give us an idea what the sort of Jewish community in the Ukraine looks like in normal sort of peacetime?
Right. So there's around 350,000 Jews. Nosson, come in whenever you want. You see, Nosson knows it a lot better than I do. He was a counselor in the camp, I think, since 2004, 2002. He's been there.
Nosson, how did you get roped in Nosson? How did you get in?
Yeah, how did you come to it?
I originally, the first time I went to Ukraine was in year 2000 on a Jewish grammar trip. It was the very first Jewish grammar Eastern European trip. Moshe Fima at the time still lived in Kiev. He was living in the children's home. He was running the children's.
Maybe explain to people who Moshe Fima is. I don't know if people know who he is either. So maybe they just take a step back on that one as well.
But Moshe Fima is a Mancunian who originally moved to Ukraine about 25 years ago, or even slightly longer than that. And then in the year 2000, he moved to Belarus. And now he runs the Jewish community in Pinsk. in Belarus and White Russia. Well, Belarus, yeah. He's very, very involved at the moment as well in saving lives, similar to what we're doing. And so I first went to Ukraine in the year 2000 to join Moshe FEMA, and we went to a trip to the children's home there. We went to the Kvorim in Ukraine. We got to know the boys slightly, and then again in the year 2003 was when I was asked to become a madrich, a counselor in the Camp Shuva, which is, as Rabbi Chil mentioned, the summer camp for children, the Ukrainian children. I would say many of the children are underprivileged children. So many of them, unfortunately, are orphans.
So just going back to that question to Yechiel, what was your, when you first came across the Ukrainian community, what did you sort of learn about them? Are they all spread around? Are they in different towns? How big is this community we're talking about?
As Rabbi Chil said, there's 350,000 Jews in the whole Ukraine. The biggest city is Kiev. I think there's about between 60 and 80,000 Jews. Then after that, it's Kharkov. I think there's about 40,000 Jews, I understand. But then there's many other cities. Dnipropetrovsk is a very large Jewish community. Odessa,
Lvov,
and then you've got places like Uman, Mezhibuzh, which have become, more recently have become very Jewish. Not necessarily Ukrainian Jewish, but many Israelis have moved there.
And not
question. When we originally came there, I would say it was a very diverse community. Many of them were affiliated, but not so connected. Most of these kids lived in little towns. I don't know if anyone's heard about the little town just outside Kiev, Irpin, which has been unfortunately completely annihilated in the last couple of days. They lived like there's a cluster of Jews living there. So they're very integrated into Ukrainian society, extremely integrated. But they know they're Jewish just because of some sort of heritage that has been passed down in the family. So there'll be a little bit, the grandmother may have spoken a little bit of Yiddish, the grandfather, there may be someone there who will remember a Kiddush, they'll remember a matzah, and somehow they used to come and join in the bigger cities when it came to Yom Tovim. So when it came to Pesach or Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, those would be like the focal points where they'd come and join, Chanukah, Purim. So there would be some sort of connection. The idea of them coming to our summer camp was like an infusion in 2 weeks, 3 weeks of sort of everything. And then that would encourage them also to come then to the Jewish school, which was a built-up school, professional teachers, gave them a really good, solid education, where a huge percentage of them would then go on to further education. And then into some sort of professional vocation. So that, thank God, most of them today, certainly the guys that we are friendly with, we helped them all when it came to the time for them to get married. We would fundraise for them and set them up on their own. But they all had jobs. They all were self-sufficient. They were, all making ends meet, thank God. But suddenly now they are at the situation of realizing they've got nothing. Everything's left behind, and it's just, that's it. And I was talking to one of them today. He said to me this afternoon, he says, right, so I'm going to go back to Kiev later on. I said, what? He said, yeah, I'm going to go back. So you're not going back to Kiev? He said, no, what do you mean? I've got all my stuff in my apartment. I said, you can't go back. It's dangerous. He goes, but what about all my stuff? So he's got their memories of his parents, his grandparents, heirlooms that are there. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, you can't go back. It's dangerous. I said, your life's more important than those things. And I know how painful it is. But he says, yeah, but Masha is my wife. Her grandmother's there. So I said, well, do you think we can send a minivan? There's vans going around to try and pick them up. As part of the organization that we're involved in is to go and pick them up and get them out of the city. He says, no. She's like a strong Ukrainian, very, very strongly identifies Ukrainian. She's saying, like, if Putin comes to my door, I'll tell him where to go. But, they believe that. But honestly, I said, you've got to convince now your mother-in-law and your grandmother-in-law, they've got to come out as well. You've got to come to a better place. You've got to get out of Ukraine. I said, well, everything you had in that apartment, you make a list, we'll provide it for you and more, but you've got to restart. And 2 hours later, he left me a voice note where the realization is sort of sinking in. And you can just imagine the turmoil that they're going through and the trauma that they're all having the realization and yeah, you're right. I don't really have where to go back to, but and now I don't have anything. What am I going to do? And I don't want to take from everyone. I never have. I've always been self-sufficient, and they really know how to graft out a Parnasso. You know, they're hardworking. They're really. When we worked with them as well, we always, you know, these guys, they don't sleep. They really work hard. They know what it means to work hard, and
They probably had to because they're orphans, aren't they?
Sorry.
They probably had to learn how to do this because they were orphans, so they had to be self-sufficient in a way.
Yeah, the majority of them, yeah, for sure.
That's
How
why
did they all become orphans? I mean, 'cause it sounds like a tremendous amount of kids without parents. Is it like so dangerous that so many people die over
Well,
there?
the mortality rate is very high there because the welfare system, the healthcare system is really not. It doesn't exist. I mean, you're living out in villages and you're living out in, you know, so they have their natural remedies that they'll tell you about. You know, my mother said I should do this, and my grandmother said I should eat that, and so, you know, some of them are great and some of them sometimes work, but in general, the mortality rate is very high. When you talk about a bottle of vodka being cheaper than a bottle of water, so the amount of alcoholism that goes on over there, and you know the repercussions of that as well, you got to take into account. And it's a rough, tough existence.
And that's also a legacy of
Baby over here was one of our first campers, and I think he got the bug more than any of us because he came one year and then he never stopped coming. And he's kept up with them. And developed amazing relationships. They're such real, genuine people. You know, when there's less of there's so much less of the comforts and the extras that we have here, and it's really just about the pure, genuine people. That's what I found when we went there. There were genuine people who valued you for just who you were. You know, forget all the shtick and all the outside and all the externals. It was just about the real people, and that's what they are.
So let me ask you a question then, guys, because you'll know this better than most. Was there, in the run-up to this, obviously we've heard rumblings in the news and everybody knew that Putin had repositioned his troops around the Ukraine. Was there a very real sense with the people that you've spoken to that they expected this to happen? Or is this now like they just never in a million years thought it would go this far?
They didn't have a clue. I was messaging them like the week before, you know, when we started hearing stuff was going on, and so I was messaging them, you know, are you guys, what's it like to be in a war zone? And they were like sending me these smiley emojis, like, it's Kiev, man. Everything's absolutely normal here. If not for the news, we wouldn't even think there was a war. And it was, you know, starting in the Donbass area of Lugansk, and they were joking about it. They never imagined it was going to come that far. They knew there was posturing, but they thought it's part of, you know, some sort of arm wrestle that's going to be going on.
It had been ongoing for a couple of months. I mean, myself, Rabbi Chiel, and Nosson were there less than 3 months ago in Kiev, and there was already talk at the time about he's making a noise, and they were just completely in denial then. And they thought that just panned out till they realized the reality 10 days ago.
It's interesting when you get to history, denial seems to be something that comes up again and again. You look back to the Second World War. Everybody said, yeah, Hitler's crazy, but he's not that. I mean, he's not going to do that. He's not about, he's not that crazy. And then when he invaded everybody, I went like, oh, you know, it feels almost like that, doesn't it?
There were a few families who more cautious families. They left 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's one specific family we're very close to, Simcha. He left and he went to the Carpathian Mountains, which is southwest of Ukraine. Probably about 3 weeks ago he went there, and then as soon as Putin did invade, or Russia did invade, he actually moved over to Hungary straight away. So he was one of the first people to move from Ukraine to Hungary. And by the time 10 days ago, he was already in Budapest, and then last week this time he was already in America. So there are certain people who were more cautious and they went ahead, and then there's many other. The vast majority, as Rabbi Chiel says, were stayed behind, expecting the Russians to simply attack Lugansk and Donetsk and not touch anywhere near Kiev.
Let me ask you.
Yeah, go on.
Maybe just something slightly different, because we've had a question here from Robert, which is where are the Nazis that Putin talks about? But I'll preface that by saying, obviously, what makes this situation rather unique for people watching here in Manchester that may be Jewish is that they have a very prominent their head of state in the Ukraine is Jewish. Seems to be doing an amazing job of keeping his head, but also he's become an icon with the press all around the world. They've got hold of this guy's personality. They like the way that he talks. He gives very impassioned speeches. He used to be an actor previously, and clearly he's carried that through into his work at the moment. But given the fact that he's Jewish and that Putin keeps talking about the neo-Nazis that are ruling certain parts of the Ukraine, it seems even more of a slap in the face. But is there a sense that when you were in the Ukraine that there are sort of segments of neo-Nazis over there that are a very real threat to the Jews there?
So I'll comment on that one. First of all, hi, Rob. I don't know if you remember me from all those years ago, but I certainly remember you. When we went there, well, first of all, I think it's part of Putin's propaganda and almost like his way of trying to demean the president even more by using that type of rhetoric. And it's to try and evoke some sort of reaction that will be irrational. It's part of that machine that they know how to use there in Russia, and they've got it down to an art of how to really exploit someone for the values and virtues that they may have and try and use that in that type of way. I've got to say that all the years I've been in Kiev, and that's since the year 2007, I've gone there with my children who are today aged 20, 18, and 9-year-old girl. I've walked around always exactly like this with my couple, my tzitzis out. I've never, ever experienced in all those years, I've never experienced an anti-Semitic comment there. What I found is that the Jews there, they are so integrated into the society. They don't walk. Most of the guys that we have to do with don't walk around looking overtly Jewish like I do. They're just part of the Ukrainian society. But the fact that they are Jewish is people are very, very open to that. In fact, there's so many Russians that lived there that we had to do with Russians, and the main language in Kiev is Russian. The head of defense, as far as I know, is also Russian. Until recently, one of the prime minister was Russian, was Jewish. The head of defense is Jewish. Not Russian, sorry, Jewish. There's so many Jews involved in the society there. There probably are areas, where there is a little bit of anti-Semitism, but I think you've got that in every country. Today, that it's predominantly that type, to say that it's being run by neo-Nazis and it's that type of thing, I've never experienced it there. Nosson, you can talk about what you've experienced.
I fully agree with what Rafael said. We've never experienced it.
The only time there was anti-Semitism was in 2014 when Russia took Crimea. Back then, there were in Kiev 2 anti-Semitic incidents. I think both ended up in hospital. One was there for quite a while. And that was simply when the Ukrainians need to let something out on someone, they'll go for the Jews. That's why now it was so important to get the Jews out of the big cities as quickly as possible. Because of this worry, they're very, very het up. And after a couple of drinks, if they want to let it out, they let it out on someone else. But
I have to say that at the time, they did find out those 2 Jews, Rabbi Bleich, the chief rabbi of Kiev, told me, they're actually Russian saboteurs who were sent in to take it out on the Jews to try and create a
Jewish sentiment,
a misconception, as if Jews are the scapegoats in Ukraine.
It's very interesting. When I was doing some research earlier today, because people who want to look at Ukraine's links with Jews and perhaps what has happened over the centuries, it's a very, very interesting story. And you look at what happened in the Second World War, and you wonder how there are that many still living there today. But it's interesting. There's some research done, and if I just put this on the screen, I don't know if you can see this, but they did a survey. This is from the Penn Institute, and they did a survey of those Eastern European countries as to who would object to having a Jew as their neighbor effectively, or would they take them into the country? And the Ukraine, as you can see, is the lowest, one of the lowest there at 5%, compared to sort of 14% of the Russians. So you can actually see that on a day-to-day basis, attitudes towards the Jews were actually quite friendly.
We've always experienced that, and we've been all over. When I first went there, they took us to the city center, to Kreshchatyk, to the center of Kiev. Whether you go into any place we take the kids out, or you go to any place to enjoy yourself, to any bar, any pub, there was always absolutely no. The fact that you were Jewish made no difference at all.
I think it's
We
also
found it always to be really friendly.
I think it's also
I think what Chava is bringing up is interesting in that, that there was, there's a famous Babin Yar. You must have been, were you ever there? You must have been there when you were in Ukraine.
We were there 8 weeks ago.
Right. Because that's a very famous, I remember hearing about it when I was a child, and how the Ukrainians killed so many Jews in that forest. And there's no anything, no zecher. But I'm now teaching in a school that I was teaching just now about Tach Vatat, 1648 and 1649, and you read about Bogdan Khmelnytsky and the fact that the Ukrainians killed 100,000 Jews together with the Polish and the Russians. So there is real history over there of rabid anti-Semitism.
And sure, and the comments that I've just seen there, there's no question about it. The land is soaked with Jewish blood in a lot of places that you go. And in World War II, the Ukrainians assisted in the extermination of Jews, and we're only too happy to do that. What I'm talking about is my experience there in the last with the modern Ukrainians who we've had to do with, and being there since 2007, not since 2000. I think it's a vastly different type of culture. They're definitely trying to be much more westernized. They have strong links with Israel, and they appreciate the fact that Israel's also given them a lot of assistance. In fact, their previous president, I forget his name now, but he owned a massive chocolate company. All his chocolates are sold across Ukraine. When he came to power, he said one of the things he wants to do, he says he wants to make Ukraine as good for Jews as chocolate is for Ukrainians. So, there's definitely been a change from 50, 70 years ago. That's the experience today. If you're looking, maybe, some of the Russians who are 70 years old, 60, 70 years old, are looking at what it was 60, 70 years ago. There's definitely been a huge change in that. And even when we went to the villages and we were out in, rural Ukraine, we never experienced anything other than, you're Western, you look a bit more Western, so they're a bit more cautious of you. They're wondering what you're doing there, especially the older people who remember communist times. They're a little more cautious. But as soon as we always had people who, I don't speak Russian properly, so we had one of the guys who was interpreting for us. There was never, ever an issue. On the contrary, they were really, really helpful.
So that sort of gives us all the background, because we're very sketchy on the detail. And to be honest with you, in normal times, unfortunately, we tend to sort of bury our heads in the sand over here and get on with life. And we don't know what it's like in other parts of Europe for other Jewish communities. But given the danger and the situation that's happening there, what have you guys been doing over the past couple of weeks? What do the next couple of weeks hold in store? And how can we help?
Okay.
Right.
So
I'll start.
We've got loads to tell you.
A couple of weeks
How many
ago,
hours have you got?
As much time as you need. I'm here all night.
Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I received a call from Rabbi Blythe. We run, with Phil and I, are trustees of a charity in England, Orach Chaim Foundation. And Rabbi Blythe called us and said, look, things aren't looking great. We're going to have to invest in the summer camp, which we have 100 kilometers away from Kiev, to the west of Kiev. We have to invest in it to be able to create a safe haven in case anything happens in Kiev. The summer camp is only a summer camp. It's never only ever been used in the summer. There's no heating whatsoever. So the first thing was we have to install heating, which is sufficient for the Ukrainian winter. Secondly, he was concerned that if the power does go down, we have to have a backup generator. And thirdly, obviously the food. And the idea was that if Kiev was attacked, then the Jewish community in Kiev would be able to drive 100 kilometers northwest of Kiev and stay in this summer camp. And that was the idea. And initially, our involvement was purely a little bit of fundraising. Obviously, when on Thursday the 24th, when Russia did attack, I think two coaches left immediately from Kiev to the summer camp. They stayed there Thursday night. Because it happened so quickly, the invasion happened so quickly, there wasn't enough time to actually get the heating up fully functional. So it was freezing cold there. I'm not sure if you've seen photographs of the community in this summer camp with their coats and scarves and hats on, and they were given a hot meal. And by morning, many of them decided, look, we can't take the cold here. We need to go back to Kiev. Some of them went back to Kiev. The others stayed in camp. But it soon became clear that the camp itself was too dangerous for them to stay there. About 15 kilometers from 15 kilometers from the campsite is a town called Borodyanka, which until 2 days ago, probably no one in Manchester had ever heard of, apart from those who'd been to camp. But actually, if many of you would have seen the drone footage that's on the BBC of a town called Borodyanka, which is completely devastated. That is a town we know very, very well. That's the town nearest to our camp. And we used to go there if we had to in camp. If there was a need to go to a doctor, a pharmacy, a bank, a store, that's where we went to. So we know Borodyanka very, very well. Near Borodyanka is an airfield, which is why the Russians have attacked it so vigorously. And they attacked the airfield and they bombed Borodyanka, which is why the Jewish community in the camp didn't feel safe. So last Shabbos morning at 7:30 in the morning, they left the camp and they drove what should be a 5-6 hour drive to the west near Lvov, Premishlani, ended up taking them 19 hours. And it was a very, very difficult journey. But before we get to Premishlan, I should mention many of you will have seen a video of men, women, and children in a underground bunker singing Shalom Aleichem. I don't know if anyone's seen that. It's quite a moving video. It was.
Do you wanna pull it up if you have it? Either you guys, AB or Nelson, do you have it?
I've got it here. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, maybe we can put it on the screen.
So that's actually in the basement of our summer camp where they were. They wanted to leave Friday afternoon. They had buses there, they had everything ready, and suddenly they started to hear artillery. But it came so close. It came within a mile of the camp. The windows of the bus started to rattle. Obviously, they had to get all the kids off. They took them back and they went down into the bunkers. They didn't know how close that was coming to where we were. The fear being that either anyone undercover will have known that this would be a place where we will have stored food, drink, and supplies, or they may just use it. Other people may use it for refuge. Obviously, we would have taken them in, but it was just the unknown. So they went down there and they began Shabbos there. And the decision then was made that Shabbos morning, Saturday morning, they would leave then instead, which is what they did. That's what Noson's referring to. So that Shalom Aleichem, which was filmed, was really also to just try and help the kids.
You have it on WhatsApp. You might be able to put it up on a WhatsApp, and we'll share your screen.
I can try. Not brilliant at this. I've never used this software before. Sorry.
See, I know who Noson's IT teacher was, and it's not his fault.
You know what, David? I think the best thing to do.
Do you want to WhatsApp it to me, and then I'll
send it to me.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Do you have David's number?
I've got David. Has it come through, David?
Yeah, web WhatsApp.
It has. Yes, it has. Right, I'll load that up. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll work on that.
Okay, so
we were talking about what you're doing next and what people can do to get involved.
Right.
So as you're in the middle of Tanga, so then what happens? They have to get back for Shabbos, and then where are they going now?
So they had to stay in camp. They had to stay in camp over Friday night because there was a curfew. The curfew ended 6 a.m. on Shabbos morning. 9 days ago or 8 days ago. So they left early morning on the Shabbos morning, and they travelled across the Premishlan. Since then, what we've created 3 refugee camps in the west of Ukraine. One in Premishlan, one in Yampil, and one in Belz. And throughout the past week, we've evacuated probably 2 or 3 buses each day from Kiev across to the west to these refugee camps where people can stop over, stay a night or two, have a hot meal, rest, get their paperwork in order, and then make their way over the border into Poland, Moldova, and all these other countries.
Are the borders actually are they open? Are they accepting people through?
So they're accepting mainly women and children, and men beneath under age 18 or over age 60. So
They're not allowed to. The men are not allowed to cross the border, are they?
I have this. I have this clip now, which I'm gonna put on.
Просто там полноценно все. Ну, это не подвал, там кухонный склад. Я ж посмотрю, мне кажется, во-первых, уже не стоят.
Выходим вечером.
That was 9 days ago in Ukraine, in our summer camp.
Wow.
And that brings you back to, I mean, this is probably, I mean, none of us lived through it, but this might have been what they, just without the mobile phones, but this might have been what they lived through in the Second World War. Hiding in a bunker, trying to sing Shalom Aleichem quietly, hoping that the Germans wouldn't find them.
Yeah.
You know, it's as scary as it is, but this is happening.
Yeah.
So go on. So you created these 3 camps, and what are they doing in these 3 camps?
So we've created these 3 camps in the West, and every day we are receiving calls. I mean, most of the calls are going directly to Rabbi Bleich, who's in America, and he has a team in America working on it. There's a team in Kiev working on it. There's a team in the west of Ukraine, and we are receiving calls ourselves, calls begging us to help themselves, their families, their relatives. We're receiving calls from the rest of the world saying, I have a relative, I have a grandmother, I have an aunt, whatever it may be, stuck in Kiev. Will you get her out? Will you get him out? Will you get them out? And we've arranged, I think, with Michiel, I think you probably know better than me, it's about 24 coaches so far.
Yeah.
Buses.
And that's been coaches. What we've done on Friday and yesterday, they're also, in order to get around Kiev, in coaches, not so practical at the moment. So we're hiring minivans to be able to do that. But you got to understand the risk for drivers to drive around, and certainly coach drivers. It's a big risk, and they also have the monopoly now. So they're cashing in, and they're charging $500 a seat.
Wow.
On their bus. So when we want to evacuate, so we're filling the buses, every seat's getting taken. There's not that much luggage because people are putting together literally just the bare minimum of what they want to take, a little bit of memorabilia, a little bit of, a few heirlooms, and then the basics. So we're getting an average of 50 of a bus is about 57 seats. So you can do the maths. 500 times 57 is $28,500 for a bus just to get them out of Kiev. And what we started now is with minivans to get the older people that should be that little bit more comfortable, also a bit more practical. They can go around house to house or building to building to try and get them out. That's also costing. Yesterday, we were in touch with Rabbi Bleich last night. So one bus broke down. We've got 2 minivans to go and take the people off the bus and continue the journey west. One of those broke down, so they had to get another Sprinter van to take those further. So these are all things that are in real time happening. Even food supplies are running out. There's obviously no milk left. There's a little bit of milk powder. That was the latest thing we've been able to get them from other places in Ukraine. There's water, bottled water is running out, and the water there, I've never tasted the actual water there. We were always told to have bottled water or something like that, so I couldn't even tell you what it's like. Eggs are in very short supply. Obviously, medicines are dwindling. Just for the people who've got babies, to get nappies, those are running out, and basic supplies like toilet paper and things like that are also running out. So these are all just to give you an idea of what's going on there. We in these refugee camps, we had over Shabbos close to 300 new people arriving and leaving. As that means buses come in. Some of them, they continue past the refugee camps and continue to the border. Some people who are not ready yet to get to the border will get off. Others from the refugee camps who have now got everything in order, all their papers in order, will get on and will go to the border. But the wait at the border is sometimes 28 hours, sometimes 24 hours. There's obviously an amazing, I don't know if anyone's seen what's been going out from Natan Sharansky, the comment that he made at the show of Brachos over these last few days, how amazing it's been to the word Jew. He's a Ukrainian native himself, from Donetsk, I think. And, he said where Jew was one of the things you wanted to eradicate from your papers. Today, when you get to the border, if you say you're a Jew, there's tents there with there's have set up from the Misrad HaChutz, plenty of people there to take you and to look after you and to give you fast track you through. So it's almost like, but it's still a wait. And because you've got many families where the fathers are between the ages of 18 and 60, the mothers and the kids don't want to go on their own and wait by the border and then get across and not know what's happened yet to their husband. It's becoming something that's making them that decision of what to do so much more difficult. Some have managed to get through, they've bribed some guards. It's back to that old story again of finding a way through, as they say in Ivrit, b'derech lo derech, and they found them, a way to get out and reunited somehow in a different place. But all these things obviously incur a cost, and they incur, expertise of people who know how to do that, and the risk, and the tremendous risk of doing it in that type of way. So there's the fear of those who are still there of what to do, and we're it's a multi-pronged effort. There's talking to the people who are still in Kiev and still in some of the cities to convince them to go. Then there's, because they don't want to leave, and you can understand this is their life, this is where they've grown up, and they feel so attached to their cities and so attached to their homes, and it's everything they have, and it's the only thing they have. They're saying to me, we don't even have a bank account to draw out of anywhere else in the world, and anyway, what's Grivna going to be worth anywhere else in the world? So they're literally leaving or contemplating leaving with nothing. So that's one effort. The other effort is those who have already made the choice to leave, to ensure them they shouldn't go back, and we will take care of them, and we'll replenish them, or we'll try and reestablish them wherever they go to next, and convincing them to make the move to get out of Ukraine and to try and make that move. And then there's those who eventually are now starting to move on to places. So those that are going to Israel are Baruch Hashem being looked after there amazingly by the Misrad HaKlita, and they're being taken in, they're being signposted to communities that they know already. There's a lot of them who've gone to Hungary. There's a lot of them in Moldova, but they're hanging around those border cities because they don't yet know where to go, and they don't have anyone to go to. So what we're trying to do, at least for the Chevra that we know and that we have a connection with, and any of their friends, so by extension, we're talking about your friends of our friends. If you want to come to UK, we're going to try and do what we can. We've been in touch with people who are in the Home Office. We've been in touch with some members of Parliament as well, who are assisting us and helping us to see what we can do to fast track that process, and hopefully try and bring those who can come across here to England, and we house them here and sort of restart a life, hopefully. One of them today was telling Nosson, I've never been a taker. I've always been a doer. I've always been giving. I don't want to become a nebuch. I don't want to start taking from people. It's not my nature. And what we're telling them is we appreciate and we understand that, and we're going to find you jobs. You're going to become self-sufficient, but just go through that transition. As hard as it is, we understand that. But you know what? You would have done it for us, so let us do it for you. And
all right, can I just make a shout out to Rob Werner? Thank you so much. I just got an email. A donation came in. Thank you for your donation. Anybody else who'd like to make a donation, I've also put the link on our WhatsApp group. David, maybe we can put it on the regular comment chat as well. I can put it on there, so that people can just click on and go straight on.
Just to reassure everyone as well, Nosson and I are the trustees of the charity here in the UK. Every single penny that comes in, Baruch Hashem, both of us have jobs. We're not taking any money on, no side kicks, and nothing's coming. Every penny is accounted for. And I know when we ran camp, I had to give an accounting to Nosson for every grivna at the end of each summer. Not every penny, every grivna, and there were 38 of them to the pound. So every detail is accounted for. Every penny that comes we check, we know where it's going to, we know where it's being deposited, we know how it's going. You want to know how it's going into the Ukraine. So at the moment in Ukraine, everything's cash. No one's working with cards because no one trusts the bank system there. It's basically shut down. So one of the things...
Probably gone bust anyway.
Sorry?
Probably gone bust. You can only do dollars there, probably.
Yeah. So what we had to do is, in collaboration with guys in America and in Ukraine, is source out people who have stashes of cash there. Thankfully, they are. And what we're doing is we're getting them to give the cash piles to our people there. And once that's handed over, we can deposit money for them into their accounts here in Europe, in England, in America. And then we're able to, that way, buy food. We're able to, because they're on the West, there's still a supply, a supply that's going into that west part of Ukraine. Limited, but it's still going in. And you've got lots of people. There's so many unbelievable things going on from a variety of different organizations. You know, we're just one arm of a variety of different organizations that are working out there, and the phenomenal, unbelievable Mesiras Nefesh of people there in the way that they're going about this. People who literally put their lives on hold and gone out there. Besides for the shluchim that were there, we're talking about Americans, Israelis, Germans who were working out there, whether it was community rabbis, community workers, shlichim from a variety of different organizations. They'd set up and been there for the last 20, 30 years, given their lives over to rebuilding Ukrainian Jewry, and they also just suddenly left. Most of them have left homes and left apartments. Their clothes are all there. You know, their Pesach things are all there. Their Purim things are all there. And if many of them, their apartments by now have probably been looted. And even if they're not, when are they really realistically going to be able to go back there? It's a real unknown. And so these are all people who need our emotional support. A lot of the time is spent on the phone as well, just calling them, how you're doing, and talking to them. And hopefully, if we can get them out, just try and help them rebuild their lives.
Is there a chance that the Russians are going to attack those border cities and just mass slaughter these people?
I don't know. I'm not an ally. I don't know.
I think eventually they will want to do that. I think their aim at the moment is Kiev, and that's why people were shifting people from Kiev to the safer side of Ukraine. But obviously, on the long term, they're going to have to move from there as well. Someone did ask about what happens when they're getting over the borders. So again, there are a lot of people and organizations that have sent people. I think we know some people that left London today to go and be there just to give them a shoulder to lean on. They're coming without phones, some of them without where to go, without money. So we're setting them up. There are quite a few Jewish communities dotted around Poland that have opened their doors. Hungary as well, directing them to the right places. And then obviously we don't know where they're going next. Obviously we are trying on our end to get them. Getting visa entries into UK at the moment is not so easy unless they've got a first family member that is a British citizen. But like Michiel said, we are waiting for some answers from the government, being that we are a registered charity with links to Ukraine, and we've got people that have offered to give vacant flats. People have offered to assist with setting them up with jobs and taking care of them. They are interested in us trying to help bring some of these people over.
This might sound like a silly question, but given that there's a sizable Jewish community on the other side of the border in Russia, what do we know of? Are there any links between the two? Are there any people that have gone back that way, or is that just too dangerous?
No, there are. Well, there's very strong links. A lot. Just one on that clip that you saw that you screened before. You may have seen as it went to the right hand side, there's the entrance to that bunker. There was a young man there with a baseball cap on. He's our friend Zhenya. He's looking after the operations that was in the camp now in this new. Hey, Zhenya.
Hi guys, I'm here.
Right, guys. This guy lives in Kiev. He's been our top man. He was our interpreter for years. Before he got married, after he got married. Whenever we go to Ukraine, he looks after us. He takes care of us. The most unbelievable fellow. Today, he is running the refugee camp in Przemyślane.
We're in Lore now.
Those guys. So it's nighttime. That's why their lights are off, because you can't have lights on even indoors at night, so that you shouldn't be identifiable. Gershon, English, yeah? You'll do English, yeah?
I'll try to, yeah.
Fantastic. How many people are in Przemyślane over Shabbos and today?
It's hard to say because we have like around 100 people, but every single day, 15 or 20 people leaving, and we have another 15 or even more people which we have no room, so they sleeping on the under steps. We're giving them a benches, mizronim, and samim ala safsanim. So that's how they're sleeping, and most of the people got good, nice places.
Oh, Mordechai, right, guys. This is the other guy. This is another one of our Ukrainian friends. As you can see there, he's in the dark.
Yeah.
He's also in Premishlan. He was running one of the other refugee camps in Yampol till he moved over just before Shabbos to this one. So Gershon is, I think, operations manager at this currently at Premishlan, and Mordechai is the managing the flow.
You guys in the same room.
Oh, okay.
From
Yeah.
one place to the other. Mordechai, you'll tell us. Mordechai has actually got a very rich background in showbiz. He's a professional musician. He can tell you he's done a lot of work with corporate companies, with different people, different gigs that he did in Ukraine. As having worked in the property industry in the last year. So you know he's someone who has a very dynamic background, like I say, in music and showbiz, very well known in the Kiev scene, as well as one of the most amazing guys, and his English is really good.
Thank you, Yechiel. Hi, everyone. Shalom Aleichem.
Hi, Mordechai.
Hi,
Shalom
Nosson.
Aleichem. You know, first of all,
Mordechai,
I hope that you guys get the strength to be able to deal with everything that's going on over there. It must be absolutely heart-wrenching and so difficult. And we here in Manchester stand with you and say, Kol HaKavod for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, guys.
You, Gershon, as well, obviously.
Right, Gershon and Mordechai, let me tell you, this is Rabbi Eisenberg. He's the rabbi of one of the biggest communities here in Manchester. He's actually one of the most dynamic people in Manchester. Next to him is David Mintz, who is actually one of the most influential people in Manchester on the choir. It doesn't realize how influential he is. But
Fake
we
news.
know a little bit.
All of that's
They're
fake
very
news.
involved. They've got this at the moment. How many people are watching us at the moment?
So we have about 25 people at the moment that are watching you live.
Right.
You
Okay,
get it
so
afterwards. It gets watched many times afterwards on YouTube and on. We're going to be sending it out through our social media links. And so this is going to be going out to a lot of people afterwards. I'll be sending it out as well as David as well.
Okay.
so Mordechai, how many people when you were in Yampol, when you spent that first Shabbos, when a lot of people went out of Kiev, you were still that first Shabbos in Kiev,
Yes.
first Shabbos of the war in the synagogue, in the shul. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that experience of that Shabbos and what it was like to be there?
Yeah, it was a strange, interesting Shabbos, let's say. Not typical. It was about 20 guys, 25 people, maybe even more. And we had the tefillas, but then we went to the bomb shelter. Let's call it bomb shelter. It's dining room down in yeshiva or under the shul. The guys, the Nosson and the Kiev, they know what I'm talking about. This place with the kosher shop there, under the shul, the place, the also safe place. So that's where we went pretty often during Shabbos, because we heard this alarms, so it was pretty often. But still we had minions and Suda and tried to encourage each other. So it was last Shabbos, yeah.
Right. So what made you decide to leave Kiev and all those other people after having been there for that first Shabbos?
Oh, okay. We're in touch with Rabbi Bleich, we're in touch with different people from around. We see that people go to the west, which is more safer place and it's closer to the borders. So it's much safer to be here, and it's much safer and closer, so we could go out easier. You don't have to get to the border from Kiev, but go from Lemberg, from Lvov, where we are now. It's much easier. And for me and my son, I feel more safe here than in Kiev.
Right. And where you guys are, do you hear air raid sirens? Are you under any
Sirens? Do we hear sirens here?
Yeah,
we do.
We
Gershon, it's like once a day, right? Gershon.
Yeah, usually every day we got around 2 or 3 sirens. Today I think we didn't have. I'm trying to hide somewhere that this way I'm not gonna make a noise because a lot of people are here. I'm the kitchen now, so now it's gonna be quiet. The sirens we do here, but it's quiet over here. And here people, they really hate Russian people. even before the war. So the Ukrainian, real Ukrainians over
The
here.
locals, you mean? The locals.
Yeah, local guys. So so they ready. They closed all the roads, and when you want to go from one place to other place, you have to stay in the traffic. They watching your documents and everything. Anyway, it looks like quiet over here, but Syrians we do here, and we just running to the basement. I have pictures I could send you maybe a little later, and we're sitting there.
How
Gershon-
crowded is it in the basement? Is it very, very squished in the basement when you all have to go down in those
I'll send the
sirens?
picture. I'll send the picture.
Yeah, I mean, is it like tough? Is it full of people? You mean?
Must be very, very full. No, I can't imagine the basement has room for everybody.
It is long.
It's long, but we put benches over there, and this is like one of the levels. It's on the bottom levels. We'll still have apartments next to it, so it's good enough. But usually, if it's a night, the kids getting slept there, and the parents taking them in the morning already. We're putting up mattresses, and they just sleeping there till the morning, because sometimes we hear the siren, and we don't know when we allowed to go outside, so we're just sitting there. It's a little scary, but Baruch Hashem,
Gershon, you've got a sister who lives in Russia, right?
Yeah, but she's been in Ukraine, and they evacuate to the to the Moldova.
Right.
They run away to Moldova now. Like this is really hard and to run away, because everything that I have, it's like we went out of the house and we took stuff for a week, maybe less, and all our stuff, it's in our apartment. And my apartment, it's a rent apartment. So if I'm not gonna pay, I'm gonna have to take all my stuff off there. But I'm not in Kiev. Whatever. It's like I'm saying that most of the people, they got trapped in it. You understand? Oh, here, this is a
That's the picture, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's big, long. And
It's one of the
what's
four.
interesting- What's interesting that we have always people come to us and they leaving. Yeah, some people they stay, and we always the people they switch. Like doing. So we have different faces over there. Anyway, it's Baruch Hashem that we have such a thing, because it's much safety. Because what's happening now in Kiev, the whole story. I don't know if should I tell you. We went from Kiev to our camp. And our camp is on the way to the Russian border, not Russian, but Belarusian, where the tanks came to start shooting and fight from there. So we've been really close. Yeah, and that map you could see from Kiev on the left, like to the Belarusian, on the top and the left, like on Chernobyl, on the way to Chernobyl. Anyway, so when it was Shabbos, and Rabbi Leif told me, don't shut your phone, be on the phone always. I told him, on Shabbos? He's like, yes. I told him, okay. And and then we heard, we didn't have any Syrian over there, because we're in the woods. We heard bumping, real bumps, real fighting, like a gun, everything, gun shooting. It was like, you cannot believe it till it not happened with you, because like you could see this in the news with Allahu Akbar. Over here by us, it's quiet, never happened such a thing, and it's next to you because it's in the woods. You can hear almost everything. It's quiet. It's not a city, and you can hear. And the windows, they we have a lot of windows. They shake. And whatever, so we went to the dining room, which is full of the windows, but it's got also on the floor down, basement. So when and then we decide we're going to escape. Rabbi calling us, you have to escape. Then he stopped. No, you're not going, because they came to you. Then yes, you go. You're running again. Whatever, it was like here, like we start running, and then we stopped back. We went back, and then Baruch Hashem, we went with a bus between the fight. So we heard it. We saw the fire. We saw the fog, not a fog, the smoke. I don't know how you're saying this. Yeah, the somewhere is a fight, and we got Baruch Hashem till here. It took me. I came with my car. It took me 19 hours.
How did you have petrol?
This is first of all. We stopped, and you can put petrol only 20 liter. You cannot put more than that because they needed petrol for everyone. So we make a combinot, and I stopped on the gas station. I went there, and they put me 20 liters. Then my wife went, and she said 20 liters, whatever. So they put me 40. Whatever. This is how we came here, Baruch Hashem, and now we're holding the car with a full tank of the fuel. Me and my friends, which they are here, and our boss, Baruch Hashem, he's Ukrainian guy, and he's brother from Lvov. So he called his brother, told him, listen, you have to leave for me solar, the petrol. So he left for him 100-something liters, and we're holding a bus with us over here now. He always with us. At the case something happened, Chas v'Shalom, not everyone has a car with us. So we have a bus. For sure, we're paying for every single day that he's with us. Anyway, but we cannot do this. By the way, guys, you know him. It's Alexander.
Ah, wow.
Because
Can't believe it's alive.
Yeah, because I called like 20 companies. No one was ready to go. Everyone told me, listen, we're going with our family. No, we're not taking because of the word the bus costs a lot of money. It's on the parking. No. No one didn't want to. And then I remember him, and remember the deal that you just. I was in live. I was hearing you talking. You told that every single penny costs. I remember that we've been writing down every single how much costs, how many, whatever. That was hard, but I remember, Nusser.
Gentlemen, let me ask you, gentlemen. You must, both of you must have friends that are stayed behind and are fighting. What are you hearing from those people back there?
You mean the people who left in Kiev and those cities?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say from Kiev, the guys from Kiev, they say it's quiet. Let's say the Podol area where the shul is, right? They say it's pretty quiet for now. Or different areas, let's say, there's right and left bank in Kiev. So actually, Sasha's the driver's wife, but actually is in Kiev. Can you imagine? The guy is really nervous, but she stayed in Kiev in one of the, it's quiet comparable to like cities like Kharkov or Eastern Ukraine, right? Or South. There's news they're going to Odessa soon. That's crazy. So in Kiev, around Kiev, all these places like Borodyanka, Irpin, and Vyshgorod. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe Yehiel remembers this or not. Borodyanka, remember, guys? So it's
That's
like no. It's almost no Borodyanka there. I mean, they destroyed maybe 50 or 60% of the buildings. So Sviva of Kiev, all these cities around, most of them are destroyed, or the bridges are, or bridges bombed. So they cut the people that don't have access from the city.
Oh. And people who actually have guns who are fighting. People with rifles that are now fighting against the Russians. Are there any Jews that are sort of fighting against the Russians?
Gershon, I think Avrami said about the Tishka. Remember that guy?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. You want to say about it? We got
yeah.
So we got a dorm for kids which they got no parents or they not able to hold the kids with them anyway. So one of the boys, he was a little kid. He was in the dorm. And then after he finished the school, he was in yeshiva, I think, maybe not much. And then he went to Israel. He went to Israeli army, the real Israeli army, and he knows how to use the gun, machine gun, So when it happened over here, he was in Ukraine. So he said, I'm deciding to go there. So he sent us a pictures that he's on the wall. Not only him, we have a few guys that they went to fight. We do have. And by the way, about the Kiev, they hear every single time the noise. And one of the families, Yerichman, they already on the way to us. They not on the way, but they decided they coming here because I think they're afraid.
Baruch Hashem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yerechman is like, he's one of the guys who's really holding a lot of the people who are there together. He's such a strong character.
That's right. I told him, let's go, Itzhak. That was last Monday, right? After Shabbos, after the Shabbos in Kiev. So he said, no, we remain here. So Baruch Hashem, now they are planning to come with his family and join us.
Wow.
And you know what? Next to my apartment, it's in Kiev. I'm not there already a week and something. They made already such not a fence, but when you're putting a few metal sticks together, the tank should not gonna cross through.
Wow.
Barricade. Barricade against tanks.
Barricade.
Yeah. So it's just next. It's connect to my building, which is I live there. It's scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
You ever think that you're going to be able to go back, or have you sort of decided that's it? I'm never going to be able to go back to Kiev again.
Wow, such a good question you ask.
It's just so difficult, no?
It's difficult to understand. Yeah, no.
My wife, she's holding herself and she's saying the Hitler, what's his name? Putin, gonna die, or something gonna happen and we'll go home. But I don't know how this is real. Yeah, that's our dream.
No, Gershon, maybe not how, but when. Yeah, the question is when.
Yeah. B'ezrat Hashem.
That's the way to look at it, Mordechai, with a positive light. Not if, but when. Very positive. Unbelievable to have that kind of spirit in everything that you're going through. It's very, very inspirational. Really.
Listen, guys, we like Gershon, Yishol, the people working here, we're all together. Only togetherness could help in this case. No other ways. So everyone is busy here with their own.
So I do want to thank all those people who have donated, and those who haven't donated yet. Please, if you can help us, any little bit that you give is going to help. Hopefully, Mitzvah Hashem, we will also reach our target when this goes out to more more via.
I tell you, one of the things for us over here, being here in England with the such strong ties that we have with the guys there, for any time they had a simcha, we would shoot over there. And any time we were able to get over there, we would go over, whether it was for a day, 2 days, and we used to spend time together. Like the one thing that many of us just want to do is to just come over there and be there with them, and then just get you over the border back with us, so that is sort of normality.
So that what are the chances of people from your camp coming to the UK? Does anybody have a chance to come to the UK? And if they come to the UK, what would they need?
That's a good question. I think this procedure is not easy, right? I mean, for England, it could be different than, let's say, Germany or I don't know, whatever country I call it.
Yeah, I think at the moment you need to have a blood relative here, if I'm not mistaken, a family member here. But the situation's changing every day. Hopefully, they will open that up to anybody that needs to come across, not just people with relatives. Yeah,
like people came to United States for, let's say, as a tourist. It's 90 days. So before March 1st, there was a rule they could remain there 1.5 years. Germany gives you 1 year. Anyways, I don't know what about England. You guys maybe know better. But I haven't seen any news about England in this issue. So maybe
people trying to get to England or not really? Is that not on the list? Anybody will go anywhere they can go. Will people go wherever anyone will take them, or do people want to actually go to specific countries?
I didn't hear you.
Rabbi, what do you say?
Do people want to go to England, or will they go anywhere that takes them? Does everybody say, I want to go here? Or people say, anywhere that will take me, just get me out?
Oh, depends on people.
It's not really like this, because I'll explain you. and we're leaving. I have my, it's not my apartment, but it's a rental apartment. I live there 5 years. I have a job. My wife has a job. My kids going to the kindergarten, school, cheder, and everywhere. You know, and like I have like 4 jobs. I'm working in a lot of places. And now, yeah, not whatever. So, and now I'm fired. I mean, I don't have a cheder. Our camp next to the border, everyone run away from and I think we have a few guards, but at the case that I'm saying Ukrainian guys, when they're gonna be out of, you know, somewhere, they're gonna get into, and they're gonna break it. Anyway, I'm saying we lose here almost everything, but it's not for sure yet, B'ezrat Hashem. But if I want to go somewhere, I have to think where my kids gonna go, where I gonna be, where's my wife gonna work, where I gonna live, how my kids will gonna learn the language. Yeah, let's say, you understand what I mean? It's like it's a new life. It's just beginning on a new life with I have no idea what's going on, and it's like for me it's like a movie because I cannot believe in it. You understand? It's like you don't never think it's gonna happen with you because it's not. Maybe I'm like a crazy. I do understand it, but it's not in my. You understand? I'm not guys who is in the shocked or not understand what's going on. Yeah, I'm just saying it's just like it's a war. So we don't know what to do. We don't want to leave. But we don't want to stay. We can't stay because we have nowhere to stay. Like if tomorrow, let's say Putin's dead, B'ezrat Hashem, whatever, and we're going back to Kiev, we don't have nothing there. I don't have. You understand what I mean? So I don't know. We have to think. Tish,
that's the Tishka.
Yeah. Nice.
He looks really young. I mean,
Yes,
how old is this guy?
He also he's a sports guy. That's why he looks like. You know,
he's 21 or something like that.
Wow.
No, he killed people. I think so. I mean, he knows how to use the gun.
Professional soldier, right?
Yeah.
It's very scary.
I would like to join to Gershon's what just Gershon said. I joined Gershon's what just Gershon said, support him because it's not really, we don't know when it's gonna finish, guys, but we have to understand that this is not gonna be the same Kiev we left. And it's not the Kiev city, it's a country. Okay, it's city, but it's in country, it's a capital. So all the infrastructure, a lot of gas stations, I mean it's a big balagan. So bank systems, like electricity, water, whatever. We don't know when it's gonna finish, how far it's gonna go. So it would take time to build everything back, and no one knows. I heard from someone who has experience in this, like economic. He said, let's say it stopped today, they will need at least 3 years to build up the roads, bridges, all this infrastructure, and some buildings, and so at least 3 years.
Wow.
And even more. So also the currency, and it's going like, I mean, a lot of questions. So we don't know what's gonna Kiev look like when I go back.
By the way, it's next to our place that we're here. It's airbase of Ukraine. So we hear that when the aircrafts, how you saying, the airplane, matosim.
Yeah, the planes, yes.
Airplanes, yeah, the fight airplanes, they landing or they leaving out of here, we can hear it really proper. So from one side, it's cool because, like, you know, the army is next to us. But if the Putin gonna send the missiles, and they don't say they don't have professional missiles, they have Russian missiles, which they fire, you know, they just shooting.
Boom.
And someone calling, no, a little left. No, on the right. You understand what I mean? So it like, and also that their target it's Kiev, and usually they also shooting somewhere because we did hurt over here also. It was a fight over here, not a fight. They sent Tilim, how you saying, missiles
Missile.
Not
First
much,
days.
not much.
Oh, the first days, right, Gershon? Ivano-Frankovsk and Lviv, right? They sent first days
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Mhm.
And also they doing another thing. They making people always to be scared and a panic. Why? Because when the airplane from Russia just going up, arriving, how you saying? Arriving, we hear over here siren. Not only us, the all direction from Russia till where he goes, and we're all of us running downstairs. You understand? And like in a few hours, it happened again. Baruch Hashem, by us, it was like 3 times a day was maximum, but for a long time, because probably the airplane was a lot of time in the air, or helicopter, I don't know, something.
What would happen? What would happen if Russia took over Ukraine? Chas v'shalom? What would then happen?
Wow.
We're gonna use ruble.
Not, maybe. What's gonna happen? Let's go back to the aims and the conditions they are asking from Ukraine. You remember, guys, it's a few of them, right? They are looking for they have like Nazis here. They say they have that we have to take out all the weapon and become a military country. And the third condition, I don't remember now. So this is the condition that you have to just give away everything, and that's what they're doing. The purpose. You see, the targets is all the militaries. And just what Gershon said about the airport here. By the way, on the way to Yampol, we went. The roads not looking like they looked before, and you have a lot of soldiers in different places. So you have to pass it and show your documents in sometimes. So on the way to Yampol, we knew that we go through the town called Stara Konstantinov, which is really, they also have the aircraft base there. So the soldiers helped us to avoid that place and go as far as possible, because the GPS it doesn't work now. Your GPS now is these soldiers and these people. You ask them in every village that when they stop you how you could avoid that place. So we avoided Stara Konstantinov, we went around, and our GPS was the soldiers. So yeah, so we don't know yet. I myself, I'm not an expert, but what I see now, he wants to connect the Crimea with the southeast of Ukraine. That's what it looks like. If you see what happens from Mariupol, now he wants to get back to Odessa. The luck is that no one believed, and I'm still surprised that they didn't took over any city, like really take it, like Kharkov, Kiev. They bombed, but Kharkov, Kiev, Odessa. They didn't succeed. So I just spoke today with the Gershon Belaruski, one of the very important people here with us. You know Gershon, right? Remember Gershon?
The president of the community.
Right. So he said that they also didn't expect. They thought it's going to be 3 days in Zeo. So they have a lot of the 150,000 people, but they're like in very long around territory. Yeah, spread out, right? Spread out. So they didn't expect it's going to be so tough, and they thought people will greet them with the flowers on the streets of Kharkov and Russian-speaking cities. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. So it took longer than they thought. So now it's two things: or they will fight till the end, let's say, and they will they reach the Kiev, then they want to take over of the government and put someone else. And I don't know if it's going to be Russia. It could be big Donbass after that. There was just Donbass, like Donetsk, Lugansk, and then it could become big Donbass. And then I'm not going to be surprised. Chas v'shalom happened. Now we are in Lvov here, in this area. So then you heard about EU thinking about taking Ukraine to the European Union, right? So maybe there's going to be only the western part which will remain from that Ukraine we know, Chas v'shalom. So maybe and the border will be, here in the eastern south part will go to Russia. That seems, because this is logical. Here's Crimea, and it goes to, on the way to Odessa, Mariupol, all this south, and then goes to the east. And also we have this crazy enemy in the north, where Gershon said about Shuva, this Belarus. You see, they're fighting together, unfortunately. So I don't know what to say. And then you see that negotiations are not going so well.
Wow.
As I understand negotiations, that's not really negotiations. That's just to take Ukrainian attention away and at this moment start bombing. That's what usually Putin's doing. And what Mordechai said just now, that he wanted the war, רוצה לחלק את המדינה לשתיים,
He wants to split in two. Yes.
זה מה שהיה הנשיא ינוקוביץ', ככה הוא עשה את זה. That was the ex-president Yanukovych, that's what he did. He devolved, yeah? How you saying? The country.
He wanted
the
the
Russian-
previous president wanted to split up Ukraine, and now
Yanukovych was a puppet of Putin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask.
He's his neighbor now in Moscow.
Let me ask you guys, what do you think of your current president Zelensky?
Gershon, please.
What I think, again, sorry. What I think
Yeah.
is planning.
Zelensky.
What do you think? What do you think about him? Is he
I
generally
think-
doing the best job he can?
I think he's doing a good job, and now like 100% of Ukrainians like with him. I almost sure about it because he didn't leave the Kiev. Every single normal president, not normal, I don't know, even Putin sitting in a bunker. Yeah, even he hid there way before, and he's sitting in the middle of Kiev city. Also, it probably has some kind of bunker, but he's here and he moving and he making a video of he's driving in a car in the back seats anyway. But he's alive and he's here. So the Ukraine got strong, and also every single news, not even news, you could see from whatever the Ukrainians making cocktail, Molotov.
Yeah, Molotov cocktails. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you put kalkar, the plastic, white plastic, it burns and really hard.
Yeah.
And they know how to do this. So every single city they come, Russians, they throwing in them. So the Ukraine became really, really strong, and they believe in themselves. And the whole world around helps to Ukraine. Yeah, they don't give money to Russia. They cut everything. Yeah, every single.
The sanctions.
And yeah, and Zelensky, he's really strong president. I think he's really good. He's by our times guy. Like he knows what's going on. He knows how to speak.
modern,
and people
yeah.
hear him.
Yeah, for sure, guys. If you look at the world media, you will see the Biden in the shadow. You know, you see the Ukrainian president in the first pages. That and no one expected, because a lot of people always reminded him about his past, that he's a clown, show business. Okay, he didn't go through that challenges, never ever. Then there was a Corona thing that he went through the challenges. Still, people didn't believe in him. They thought he's a funny guy. But when it happened, everyone thought he would run away. I will tell you, the previous president Poroshenko, the billionaire and the corruptioner and so on, this guy would already put up the white flag, I'm sure, like Yanukovych and people before. This guy, it's amazing. Besides, the Jewish guy in Ukraine didn't run away, stays there with his people, and doesn't. Every video he becomes like more strong and tough guy, even with all these losses and all the infrastructure you see around the disaster. Still, he encouraged his people. And I'm sure, like Gershon said, most of Ukrainian population now are on his side. Wow. And this guy he writes his name now for a long time in the history of Ukraine and even Europe, I think, like a hero, not like a loser and coward. Right.
Well, I mean, these stories are just amazing. I would like to really thank you guys for coming on. First of all, thank you to Gershon, and thank you. Sorry, the name's just gone away because you moved it. Was a Mordechai. Gershon and Mordechai, thank you so much for everything you're doing for the people that are out over there. It's real Mesiras Nefesh. The Rebbeinu Shem is going to give you a tremendous amount of schar for what you do. You're saying
Amen.
Nefesh, and in Shemayim, every single bit of work that you do, they're going to count it. And we are sitting here in the comfort of Manchester. I'm really appealing to everybody who sees this video. You've seen on the bottom, there's there's over here, you see charity.com/help-Kiev/shrubberies. Whether you want to give it through our page, whether you want to give it through any of the other pages, there are people out there that are going through a terrible, terrible time. We've had some donations coming in already. Please, anybody else who can donate, any donation, whatever it is, your money could be actually saving physical lives. It's not a question of if they will, it's just a question of how many lives they will save. Please, everybody.
Rabbi Eisenberg, if I can just add, not everyone is in the situation that they are able to give. But what I can ask is that the more people that are made aware of the situation can help. That means if people can't necessarily give themselves, they can pass around the Shrubberies link to their friends, to their relatives. Who knows what extra money can come in? And like Rabbi Chiel is saying, literally money's coming in, money's going out. Every bus, $30,000. The 3 refugee centers are costing an absolute fortune to keep running. And this is what we need to do. We don't want to leave any Jew behind in Kiev. And it's only possible through the works and efforts of everyone involved.
So really, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you to Nosson, to Rabbi Emanuel, and to A.B. Rezhner for arranging it. And thank you to Geshe and Mordechai for your bravery and everything. It's been so enlightening for us to be sitting over here in the warmth of our places to hear about what's going on by you. But your real bravery and heroism is a tremendous inspiration to all of us. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Thank you to all of us who joined us live. And hopefully, please send this around and let people know about it, like A.B. said. Whether you can give yourselves or whether you can ask other people to give, this is a real humanitarian crisis. And if we, as a community, can come out and show the people of the Ukraine that your Jewish brothers here in the UK, even if we can't bring you over in person, at least we can send some dollars over to you to help the people over there. That'll go a very, very long way. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for telling us all about your stories. And, really, our heart goes out to you. We feel your pain. And in Mitzvah Hashem, we daven that you should hear of better things. And Mitzvah Hashem, you'll be able to rebuild your lives, whether it is in Ukraine, where you want to, or whether you make your way to any other country. You should have so much hatzlacha. Should really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should shower you with brachos for everything that you're doing. You're really doing tremendous things.
Thank you, Rabbi Eisenberg. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Waiting for the Ness of thank you for the Ness of Adar and Purim. Hopefully, Aman will go away.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Good night.
Thank you, guys. Thanks to everybody that's watched tonight. And your families should all be safe. I can hear in the background their children talking as well, and to me, that gets me. These are real people, real kids that don't know where they're going to be next week, and it's just thank you very much for giving your time to talk to us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.